Hello everyone, this is Curtis and Kyle's Engi 450 homework number 6, and it is called Cognitive Engineering. I would first like to start off by asking, what is cognitive engineering? Well, it's a field of engineering that focuses on the design, analysis, and evaluation of systems of work and technology. And this is specifically important in manufacturing environments, and also workplace environments such as offices, where people operate and interact with their surroundings. And within this presentation we'll be going through 4 subcategories of cognitive engineering. They are information processing, situation awareness, human error, and also mental models. Information processing is very important in manufacturing facilities and when you're trying to engineer and develop systems of work for people who are performing certain tasks. It is specifically the study of how an individual receives and interprets and stores information. Now, over the years, there have been certain models and theories that have been developed to try to understand how the human brain works and how it functions. For example, there are some theories such as the Sternberg's triarchic theory of intelligence, the cognitive development theory, and also information processing theory, which as you can see on the right here. The sensory information and memory, it is very much concerned with basically all your senses that are around you. How are you interpreting what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're seeing, and possibly even tasting in a manufacturing facility. And also that moves on to the working memory, taking what is seen and understood in the sensory memory, you can interpret that in the working memory and possibly rehearsed to understand and logically make sense of what you're doing. And doing that, you can encode and retrieve that from a long-term memory to refer to it in later times. All individuals have a certain attention capacity that is limited in resources, and people can only focus on a certain amount of tasks at a certain time to be effective. As you can see on the right hand side here in this picture, these individuals are working on objects with very high concentration. They have a light above them, they're possibly wearing thin gloves to be able to handle maybe small screws or anything with high precision. And they are also very, very focused on what they're doing because they do not have lots of distractions around them. And they are also possibly using spare capacity and workload. And spare capacity is described by Leto and Buck in their book Introduction to Human Factors of Ergonomics for Engineers. And they provide an example of an individual driving a car. Now, when driving a car, you are focused on what you are perceiving in front of you, what you are seeing. However, somebody can also have the capacity to maybe listen to a passenger or even listen to the radio. In doing so, people can only devote so much attention to their secondary senses to be effective at their primary tasks. Which leads us to our last point. Human stimuli has a huge effect on how we are able to process information that we are primarily focused on. For example, on the right here, if an alarm goes off, these people who are very concentrated on what they're doing may not be able to perform their task because they have a loud and sharp noise occurring around them. If another sense is very dominant, we'll become more focused on that and less focused on what we were originally trying to do. Let's move on to situation awareness. Essentially, it is the ability for somebody to understand what is going on around them in their surrounding environment and understand through sensory information basically how to react in a given situation. So essentially it is decisions or actions that can be made according to your situation. So, like I noted earlier, humans have stimuli, and so, for example, if an alarm goes off and you are doing a task, you may be very distracted because of a loud, sharp noise. Also, for example, if there was a smell in the work environment, you may take notice of that and question, okay, why is it really smelling? What's going on? Is it something that is involving what I am doing, or maybe there is a chemical in the air, and you can react accordingly. It is very important to integrate technology and devices into manufacturing facilities. So, for example, motorization of work areas, alerts for safety measures and security. You can integrate paging devices in a facility, equipment tracking, smoke and gas detection, and also equipment failure notifications.
So the next category of cognitive engineering is human error. Human error is the failure of a planned action to be completed with a desired outcome. When these human errors are poorly managed, they can become more frequent and gain more potential for actions to go wrong. The error itself can arise when someone is planning the action and or executing the action. As we can see in this chart, you have a desired outcome, and when your plan is adequate and you take an initial or an intentional action, your actual outcome should be a success. But when you're planning and it's inadequate, you're just set up for failure, as you can see in the chart to the right. The last category of cognitive engineering is mental models. Mental models are mechanisms that are used to describe a person's depiction of some physical system, but also how they view systems as a whole. So some samples of this is how a person views how an engine or a computer works, but also in what way they view how a business or a college operates. Mental models are used to perceive how things work, and they are long-term knowledge about these systems. These mental models can be used for problem solving or interaction with related systems. Mental models give the person a mental picture of the main features of a system, how different parts of the system interact with each other, and how they interact with outside influences get involved. To wrap things up, we'd like to say that cognitive engineering is an important topic to be discussed and heavily researched. Understanding why people do the things they do, or how people perceive the world around them, will explain how they will act, operate, and solve problems. With a better understanding of how people will interact with their surroundings in the workplace, hopefully industries will be able to have less accidents and have more efficient systems.